Buy a smartphone with GoPhone and get one free when you activate required lines of service and both devices on a qualifying rate plan with a $45 refill. AT&T, mobilizing your world. Offer ends May 31st, 2016. Valid on select phones at AT&T company-owned stores, which require new line of service on purchased phone, and participating authorized retail stores, which require new lines of service on both. Both phones require minimum $45 per month rate plan and $45 refill at time of sale in same transaction. Free phone must be equal or lesser value. See store for details.
Blog Talk Radio.
Well, good evening, folks, and thank you for tuning in with me once again to another edition of True Conservative Radio. And of course, I am your host, the man they call Ghost. And once again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in with me. I see we have a bunch of live listeners already tuning into the program. I want to thank them for tuning in. And if you happen to be tuning in with me through the archive, I appreciate your patronage. Please, folks, bookmark the webpage. It goes without saying, blogtalkradio.com/ghost. And I also want to plug the blog sites and the Twitter sites, or the Twitter site, I should say. Get back to the blog, folks. I'm going to start posting on it a little bit more frequently. It's located at Ghost Politics. That's all one word, ghostpolitics.blogspot.com. And, folks, if you are on Twitter, by all means, folks, follow me on Twitter. It is the best way to find when I'm going to do a show, because these shows are sporadic. So please hook me up on Twitter. It's the same name, Ghost Politics. Twitter.com/GhostPolitics. Now, folks, we're going to get into the program this evening, and I'm sure everybody who is tuning in with me, unless you've been crawling, up a clogged up liberal colon hole, or you've been living under a rock, or just, or an obnoxious jagoff that are more worried about shoveling food down your gullet than actually worrying about what's going on here in America. But most of you folks should be well aware of Barack Obama's breaking news that he and his administration released today, and it was the Cuba embargo. That's right, folks. Restrictions on the Cuba embargo have been lifted. And I want to hear what everybody has to say about it. I'm definitely going to tell you what I have to say about it. I think it's a bunch of horse crap. And I'm going to tell you why. I want to hear from you, 646-652-4869. And like I said, we're just going to dive right into the program, folks. The liberal administration that is in power currently, like I said before, I called this 2 years ago, folks. I've been consistent with my prognostications. Of course, this new liberal administration is going to ease the restrictions on the embargo, giving substance, giving credibility to the so-called Cuban Revolution that has been in power in that little country for so many years out here. I think it's disgusting, and I think it's a disgrace. Now, for all you folks that don't know, the administration is going to ease the embargo, quote-unquote. So if you happen to have a hair up your derriere to go out and see communist Cuba, if you want to go out and see how the communists are living out here, Barack Obama and the administration today said it's okay to do so now. You can go take a flight to Cuba tomorrow, I guess. I don't know how this works. And, of course, all the Cubans that are living here in America and folks that are, I guess, sympathetic to Cuba, they can now Western Union American money right to Cuba, folks. This is the new America that we're living in, the new liberal, leftist, feminist America that we're living in here, and I want to hear from you. I mean, are we going to sit here and take this malarkey? I mean, didn't we fight something called the Cold War out here, and here we are, we're embracing one of the arch enemies from that particular dark era in American history. This is what I don't understand, and maybe I'm falling off my rocker because of this supposed new progression, this new change into this leftist mentality to just go ahead and embrace Karl Marx worshiping. But is it me, or do I think that this is just a completely, tremendously, horrifically bad idea? Easing the restrictions of this embargo, so to speak. So what does that mean now? Does that mean I can go out and get a Cuban cigar? I mean, is that what this means? I just don't understand it, folks. I don't understand why we're sitting here attempting to even ease the embargo relations with these people, because, folks, they're still communist. Don't you understand that? I mean, I tell you what, since now you can go into Cuba thanks to this liberal administration, go out there and take a good whiff of communism. Go out there and ask them about Yankee, quote-unquote, imperialism. I'm telling you, folks, I can't believe that I'm living in this day and age of America, but I called it, folks. Welcome to the new quasi-communist socialist America that we have to come to know and love out here. I mean, we're seeing it, and it's only the beginning, folks. Just imagine it's only April of the first year of this liberal regime that is in office currently. Now, all of a sudden, we have some, idea that we're just going to go ahead and hold hands and sing Kumbaya to an arch enemy that was a thorn in the side of American national security for so many years. That's why we have this long-standing embargo on the crap country. I'm not talking about the people. I'm talking about the communist government. Why do you think that we have Cubans coming up and making boats out of 54 Chevys out here, swimming up onto the shores of Florida every damn day because they want to get the hell out of that Karl Marx worshiping crap? I mean, you want to get a pure sense of hypocrisy. It's communism. It's this leftist ideology. I think it's funny that you have this ridiculous imbecile, Fidel Castro, who brought his reign to power as supposedly the man of the people, right? Oh, I'm a man of the people, hasta la victoria siempre, or whatever those Cubans said back in the Revolution. All right? And yet, if you look in his bank account, this guy's got several $1 billion, and that's no BS, folks. This is supposed to be some sort of mouthpiece for communism. As a matter of fact, it's Fidel Castro's interpretation of communism. It's his model that has been utilized as communism, or quote-unquote, they don't like communism anymore. They think it's a bad word. They call it socialism now in Cuba. This whole model of socialism for a society has been practiced and interpreted by Latin America as a successful social model. So this is why you have all this fervor for communist revolution down there in South America. Do you understand, folks? And here we are as the American, quote-unquote, imperialist Yankees, according to these idiots. We are giving them substance that the revolution is winning, that the communist revolution is winning. And here we are, we're negotiating, to lighten the embargo on Cuba. Before long, we're going to be, making trade deals with Venezuela, and we're going to be, doing deals, nuclear arms deals with Iran. I mean, who in the hell knows what's next, folks? This is definitely not something that is going to increase America's national security out here. I mean, these are blatant communists here, all right? These are communists, and the only way I think that we should ease any kind of restrictions on any embargo with Cuba is if Fidel Castro is in a permanent grave somewhere and his entire regime is wiped off the face of the planet. That's the only time I think that America should be even acknowledging this country. I mean, don't you understand that, folks? I mean, this is ridiculous. We had a Cold War. I mean, we were on the brink of nuclear war thanks to this country and the regime that controls it. Remember the old Bay of Pigs? Remember the old, Cuban Missile Crisis and all this malarkey? That was this regime, for heaven's sake. That was this regime. And here we are, we're bowing down to it. We're giving credence, we're giving substance to the so-called Cuban Revolution, and I think it's ridiculous. And I want to hear from you. 646-652-4869. I mean, is this what America has become? We're just going to embrace communists now? We're going to embrace the enemy? We're just going to hold hands with them and say, oh, it's okay. We love you now. It's okay. Karl Marx is not that bad of a guy. It's horrific. I'm sitting here in the chat room, and they're discussing about the horrors of Castro and his, selfish just ambition to go to power. I mean, this man executed people because he thought and he interpreted them as supposed dissidents to the revolution. All right? It's just disgusting. It makes me sick out here that we're doing this, and nobody's crying foul. You know, of course, you got the liberals and the feminists out here saying,
oh, it's great. We get to go to Cuba now. I can go and visit my heroes out there, my fellow comrades out there that are running Cuba. Yay, viva la revolution, eh?
It's sad, folks. All right? It is sad. And, you know, in Cuba, you can't have any political dissension out here. Let me tell you something. If there was a ghost in Cuba, if there was an attempt at true conservative radio show in Cuba, the man that would be hosting that show in Cuba would be long and executed by now. And he would be probably put on national television just to make a point to everyone else that attempts to have any kind of opposition to the communist regime. And that is not what I want in America. That's not the country that I want to embrace. Especially, let me put it this way. I understand in international relations that for diplomacy purposes that you have to kind of palate certain countries' social oppressions on their own people for the sake of peace. But, folks, this is communist Cuba. This is the country that caused the Cuban Missile Crisis. We were on the brink of war because of these Nimrods, and lo and behold, before Castro is even in the box, I was hoping that this prick was already dead. I was already hoping he was pushing up his first season of Daisies out here, and lo and behold, we reported 2 or 3 shows ago that Castro was meeting with 3 lawmakers out there, to, I guess, discuss these so-called new relations that have come out today that America is going to embrace and enforce. So I guess, folks, for all you liberal, left-wing, feminist communists that want to go check out your boy, Fidel Castro, and you want to go check out, streets upon streets of idols of Castro's face and Che Guevara's face and all the communist revolutionaries' face, well, by God, you can go out there and get yourself a Cuban prostitute while you're at it. That's the only thing that tourists, I understand, get out there from that. This country actually embraces the prostitution of their own people because it brings in revenue because of the embargo. I just don't know what to say. This is the new America that we're living in, folks, and I continue in disgust trying to talk against this, but nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. You go across the internet, whether it's the Blog Talk Radio Network or Blogosphere or any other areas of gathering content, of gathering information, they're not talking about these subject matters. They're talking about Barack Obama's new dog. Oh, he got a new dog, folks. He got a new dog. Instead of talking about this new embracing of communism by loosening the supposed embargo restrictions set, forth a long time ago, I just don't understand why we aren't talking about this a little bit more. All right? We were fighting a war against these idiots, you morons. Do you understand how upset this gets me? I want to break something, for heaven's sakes. I want to throw something out the window because we're sitting here embracing. Do you understand what this move does, folks? It gives legitimacy to the communists around the world. It gives credence to the communists that if you have the struggle, no matter how long, even if it's a 50-year struggle, that if you continue, that the imperialist will crack. The imperialists will have to, somehow get you on the negotiating table and somehow bring you a part of the club. Or bow down to you on your terms. And that's exactly what is being done right here in America. That is being done right here for America by these power-hungry autocrats that are in Washington today, and it's the liberal regime. 646-652-4869. I want to hear from you. Are you happy about this, folks? Can you just answer the damn question. Can you wake up in the mirror, look at yourself in between your beady eyes, and actually believe that you're living in an America that used to hate communism, that used to despise communism, that fought a war against communism, and here we are embracing one of the arch enemies of communism? We're sitting here allowing them to send American money, American dollars that are scarcely being spread out in this American country of ours. We're allowing them to send it to Cuba now, folks. You can now travel and send money down to Cuba. Welcome to the new quasi-communist socialist America. I hope all of you are happy. And what I mean by all of you, I'm talking about all you damn liberals and all you damn feminists that were out here for 2 years straight every time I was doing these broadcasts, trying to mock me, trying to agitate my show. I hope you all are happy, folks. I hope you all are happy. I mean, I can't believe this, folks. I mean, you don't understand how upset this makes me here. Do you understand the transition of ideology by providing legitimate substance to the Cuban Revolution? I mean, I bet you every Cuban that is for this communist regime, whether by force, coercion, or, submission, I bet you all these Cubans are having a hard-on right now in Cuba propagandized television by them saying that Yankee American imperialism has bowed down to the Cuban Revolution. Viva la Revolution! I can just imagine them saying it right now. It's a disgrace, folks. It's a disgrace, and if you happen to be a liberal long hair, if you happen to be one of these feminist bull dykes, I'd like for you to give me a call up right now and give me some substance on why this is a good idea. All right? I mean, the next thing you know, we're going to be going over and making nuclear deals with Iran. I'm telling you this right now. I mean, before long, we're going to be having dinner with Osama bin Laden, for heaven's sake. 646-652-4869. We're going to take a caller here. 312 area code. You're on the air.
Okay, this is the Poor People Campaign. What's going on, Ghost?
How's it going?
Oh, everything going fine. So you disagree with a lot of things, huh?
I disagree with how the liberal administration or the liberal regime that's in power, and I'm not just saying Obama, I'm talking about everybody that's in power, because everything that's being put forth on the agenda on the Senate and on the Congress floor is being passed through. All these bailouts, all the cronies of the liberals and the feminists are being paid back under the disguise of supposed stimulus bills and bailouts and omnibus bills and all this other malarkey, and yet the American public sits here and continues to weather the storm of an economic crisis that is of Great Depression proportions, and yet we have Obama, and I'm not saying he's the answer, but isn't this man supposed to be the orchestrator of the answer? Isn't he supposed to rally around the right people, not the money elf Tim Geithner? Isn't he supposed to help the American economy? It seems to me that he's just made an open raid on the American taxpaying system, and as a result, he has transitioned the American conscience from the constitutional Republic of America into something that's really, really leftist, and that's, say, borderline communist or socialist.
Well, did you know he's in there now, and he got to clean up a whole lot of mess that other former presidents have left behind. They have been putting Band-Aids on the problem and not coming up with no solutions. So this is the result that we have 40 years later, 50 years later, 100 years later, 200 years later, or whenever the founding fathers decided that we needed a president of the United States. But still in all, we got to stick together through this, Brother Ghost, because for one, we all got to have food on our table. For two, everything is going sky high, the food, the gas, the lights, cable bills. And these are rich, wealthy people. They're not missing nothing. We are. We got to pay for everything. We pay more and we get less. Now, we got to fight back together. He's the president of the United States. But if he wants to do what he want to do, we got to help him. And if we want him to do what we need him to do, then we got to rise up as a people, not as a race, but as human beings. You know, black, white, Hispanic, Chinese, whatever. We all are in the United States together. So we are going through this mess together. When we go to the store and stand in the grocery line, we are standing in line together. When we go to the doggone place to pay our doggone bills, we stand in the bill line together. When we go to the banks, we stand in these banks in the line together. So,
but don't you understand, sir, that Obama promised, and I think that you called me up during the time of the primaries and that sort of thing. Obama promised all these people that were crying once he was announced the President of the United States. He promised that these people everything from under the sun, and all he has done. Don't you understand? All that this man has done has allowed the same people that you're critical of, the bankers and the CEOs and the scumbags, he has allowed these people to have an open raid on the American tax-paying system, and this is why these people are getting these, tremendous bonuses and these, big, yearly salaries and that sort of thing. That's why they can continue to do that, is because the American taxpayer is flipping the dime. Now, what I'm asking you is, I understand that we are all an American citizen, no matter what nationality we are. But we have to understand that we have to come to a common ideological ground. And that ideological ground should be the American constitutional republic. And, with all due respect, sir, I know that you sit here and you say that, people are starving in the streets in America and this and that. I beg to disagree with you. I completely disagree with you. I think the American poor in America live better than 80%. As a matter of fact, I think it's a fact. They live better than 80% of the people in the world. If you go to an impoverished community anywhere in America, in any nationality, whether it's white folks, Hispanic, African American, it doesn't matter. You're going to see a tremendous amount of obese kids, obese children. I mean, now let me tell you something. When you're poor,
if you go to some of these food banks and you go to some of these churches that be feeding people through the week, you will see all races of people coming there to eat with their children. If you go to some of these here food pantries, you will see all kind of people standing in line waiting to get some doggone food in the bag. So we still got those that's doing a little bit better, and we still got those that's not doing so good at all.
I understand that there's a lot of people. I do understand that, but what I'm saying is that the government shouldn't be the one to save the day. The government shouldn't be out here promising people stimulus checks. What the government should be doing is initiating from the private sector and forcing these guys to say, hey, wait a minute. Why don't we bring jobs back to America? I mean, that's what it comes down to. Jobs. We need workfare, not welfare.
We need them. We need it. But see, now listen here. The banks and these big corporations, they are getting the greatest welfare on the face of the earth. They're getting corporate welfare.
And that's because
when they're getting $100 billion and $300 billion, that's corporate welfare.
This is under the liberal regime. This is under the current liberal regime.
That was under Bush's regime too.
What are you talking about? Obama gave him more
money. Bush gave out money. Bush gave out $700 and something billion before he left the White House. What are you talking about?
And none of that went to the banks, mind you. I mean, all that went to the Department of Treasury.
Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and it did go to some of the banks. It went to J.P. Morgan and all the rest of them.
Okay. Let's say the argument is correct on your side. What did Obama do to counteract that?
Well, what could he do? For one, listen here, brother. I have talked to people that got their retirements all locked up in these doggone banks and all this here investment stuff, and they're losing their money. So somebody had to throw, like when Bush put that $700 and something billion in there, that kind of slowed it down a little bit. But some people lost all their retirement money. They lost everything. So it do not.
And whose fault really is that?
Whose fault is it? It's the doggone bank's fault, and then it's the government's fault because there was no accountability over these banks. See, that was done. No responsibility.
And let me tell you something, sir. The regulations that would have prohibited this type of economic onslaught because of bank greed, those laws were lifted during the Clinton administration. If you want to be pointing fingers at people.
Well, you know what happened.
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, look.
Well, if you're going to think about it, we gotta start from the beginning in order to get to the end.
I think that what we need to do is start embracing the American values that we used to come to know and love out here, which is, opportunity. That's what it used to be about.
We need jobs. We need training programs. We need jobs. Yes,
but we don't need jobs that are government paid. We don't need government paying jobs.
We need to get all these jobs, like these TVs that we got, these big old plasma TVs that everybody going out getting, these computers that everybody going out getting. We need these cars that everybody going out getting. A lot of this stuff is manufactured overseas. We need all these jobs back in America. They bring their products over here, but we buy it, but there's no jobs here. All the jobs are overseas.
What's unfortunate, sir, what's unfortunate is that the American people fell asleep at the wheel, and they were more worried about getting those, plasma screens and all those cheap Chinese electronics than they were about their own American government. And as a result, their own American government, the politicians that they sent to office, are the ones that initiated and passed the legislation that allowed these companies to send these jobs overseas. And not only did it allow them to send these jobs overseas, they got financial incentives and tax breaks to do it.
Well, that's our politicians that we voted into office, brother. We voted these politicians in office, and all of them we voted in has not been doing their job. They has been really stabbing the American people in the back by letting all these jobs go overseas, by letting all these factories go overseas. We got so many factories here in Chicago that's closed down as a crying shame. I mean big old huge factories. There ain't nothing there but broken windows and toe-down fences. It's a shame when they can bring all these jobs back to America, the steel mills, bring them all back to America. We can have our own oil lines pumping like they got already, instead of them trying to hide everything from us by sending everything overseas. And then when you go and really look at it, a lot of these politicians be on the board, or they have their family members on the board of these big corporations.
Of course.
They get paid off, man. They're getting paid off.
Of course, and you see, you want to know why that this has happened? Because the American people really don't care. Just like Charles Schumer said, and you can look at that clip on my website, blogtalkradio.com/ghost, Charles Schumer and all these liberals know that you and the rest of the American people really don't care.
Don't say me. You say you. I do care, and there's a lot of us out there that do care. But we got to understand one thing. We got to stop getting caught up in the blame game, and we got to start looking at these politicians because, for one, we did vote them in the office to speak for us. We did vote them in office to stand up and fight for us. But they got in office, and they turned their backs on us, and they started going with these big... If you look at these politicians' donors, their sponsors, and see how much money they done gave them, then you see what's going on.
Of course, but you see, what's unfortunate is that, you're taking offense to me because I'm being critical of Barack Obama when he is blatantly allowing an open rate on the American tax-paying system to anybody and everybody who, wants dibs on the American tax-paying system. The porno industry got a bailout in this stimulus package that was passed recently. I mean, this is a disgrace. I mean, you've got American people, 650,000 people lost their jobs last month. Another 600,000 lost it the previous month, the same the previous month before that. I mean, what's going on?
Look here, Ghost. If Bush would have never got that $700 and something billion passed before he left the White House, all this would have came tumbling down on his head. So they did pass the $700 and something billion to give him an easy way out, because whoever would have took this here job on whether it be John McCain or President Barack Obama, they still would have faced the same thing. They would.
You know what? I have to disagree with you, sir, because first of all, and we're going to get back to the embargo stuff in a minute, but first of all, sir, you're sadly mistaken if you think that if the bailout back in November hadn't have been passed, that all this would have came tumbling down. It wouldn't have. I mean, do you understand what that bailout did to America? You see, this is what's unfortunate. This is what's so unfortunate. The banks didn't get the money, all right? Because if the banks would have gotten the money, then they would have opened the quote-unquote credit lines that these damn liberals and Barack Obama keeps talking about. We need to open up the credit lines. We need those lines of credit open. Now, we did pass this supposed bank bailout back in November, so why haven't the credit lines open? Well, I'll tell you why. Because that $700 billion or $800 billion back in November didn't go to the banks. It went to the Department of Treasury and made the Department of Treasury Secretary the hedge fund manager of America. And what did they do with that money? Well, they decided to buy and nationalize the banks, folks, and we talked about that several shows ago. They decided to buy 80% stock in Citigroup and, 60 or 70% in Bank of America, so on and so forth. So, to sit here, I'm sorry I engaged the caller with, old banter. We need to start talking about right now, present day. We need American citizens to start having those synapses sparking in their brains and them start realizing that the only way we're actually going to really change this country, and I'm talking about a change that we all can be proud of, is when American people start getting off their fat cottage cheese-ridden asses and start participating in their government, for heaven's sake. Anyway, as for this disgrace of the Obama lifting embargo restrictions, this is only a test. This is liberalism and feminism striking again, folks. This is an embracement of leftist ideology. This idea that now American citizens can go out and travel to Cuba anytime they want to. If they want to go Western Union a couple of $1,000s to the Cuban Communist government, well, I guess they can go ahead and do that too, I'm assuming. Because that's the quote-unquote restrictions that have been lifted in the Cuban embargo. You can now travel and send money to Cuba, whatever in the blue hell that means. What does that mean? Does that mean do we get Cuban cigars now? What's going on? This was an arch enemy of America during the Cold War, for heaven's sake, folks. And here you have the current liberal regime in power. Now you've got them legitimizing, folks. You just don't understand that it gives legitimacy to the Cuban Revolution. And you see, the Cuban Revolution, the whole concept of the Cuban Revolution is what gives fervor to other communist factions that are in South America, that are causing all the destabilization down there in South America. They look up to Fidel Castro. They look up to these morons like Hugo Chavez and all these other communist nimrods out here. And so, you can sit here and embrace this as some sort of progress. Is just ridiculous, all right? Unbelievable. Now, I want to move on to something else, folks, because I think, this topic here is, a little bit, is somewhat important because it underscores the destabilization of the international community out here. This weekend, you had a bunch of Thailand protesters, basically surrounding the prime minister of the country's office and, basically causing a ruckus out there. Apparently, there's borderline riots in the streets. I don't know if there's riots in the streets now. I know that, the latest numbers is that there were 12 dead, dozens injured in this protest at the Prime Minister's office in Thailand, and it's a destabilization there, folks. I think that there could be a coup and a different change of regime here within the next few days. And if there's not that, folks, and I am a good political prognosticator, so take my word on this. If there's not a new regime within the next month, then by God, you're going to see another Tiananmen Square. All right, now the Thai government is claiming that they are going to just surround, and that's what they're doing. They're surrounding the protesters. They're kind of trying to establish what those in law enforcement and the military call a perimeter. They're establishing a perimeter around the protesters, and they're, of course, clashing with police. It's just, it's getting hectic out there. The Prime Minister declared a state of emergency in Bangkok, Thailand, this past Sunday. And, he's urged the people to go out there and leave. But, apparently, you've got a whole country of people that are disenchanted. And, folks, this is not the first time we've seen this. We talked about a couple of months ago when they were uprising in Greece. We have some destabilization in Ireland that we talked about a few weeks ago, how the IRA starting up with the classic Irish car bombings and, all the other things that we've come to know and love out here from those folks. We've got the destabilization in the region of Pakistan. You got the Islamists out there basically trying to dictate to the governing body that they want Sharia law. You got the definitely delicate situation in Iraq here, and I think we're cutting and running a little short by not providing legitimacy to this makeshift governing body that we basically imposed upon this country. You've got the situation, I can go on and on. The reason I bring up this Thailand situation, folks, is because, haven't you looked upon your products? Have you looked upon it? Made in Thailand, made in Taiwan, made in China. If there's some sort of regime change in Thailand, that could, up the price of more goods in America, folks. And we're going to get into how ethanol is raising costs in America. But this is what I'm saying, folks. We need to keep our eye on the ball out here. I think at this point, what we need to do is we need a president who's not going to sit here and try to become the authoritarian of economy, who's not going to be the dictator of America. We need somebody who's going to organize the people into understanding that America needs to start, turning the innovative gears in their minds and start to find solutions to problems that are going to be around in the future. Create innovations that's going to make life easier. All right? I mean, this is what it comes down to, folks. America needs to be more creative, needs to be more innovative. And we need the initiation being put forth by private industry, folks. We don't need the government in here trying to become the sole employer of the country. Because once we have the government becoming the biggest employer of the country, that's no different than the damn Karl Marx worshipers that are in existence today. And that's why I'm so obstinate against it, folks. That's why I'm not going to sit here and allow this to happen. I mean, give me a break here. I want to hear from you, 646-652-4869. You're listening to True Conservative Radio. I am your host, the man they call Ghost. Once again, please follow me on Twitter. Ghost Politics is the name, so twitter.com, Ghost Politics. And by all means, folks, please hook up the blog site too, ghostpolitics.blogspot.com. And folks, it goes without saying, spread the show like wildfire. Tell everybody you know about it. Catch me on the archives because, folks, the subject matters that are discussed on this show affect all of us. All right? They affect all of us here. Now, we got the Red Shirt Rebellion in Thailand, and I think that everybody in America should keep a close eye on this particular little skirmish in Thailand. I mean, that whole region is unstable at best. I mean, I think that, if Thailand goes under in some sort of coup or there's some sort of real big rebellion of some sort, I would not be surprised. I'm not going to, put my neck out on this, but I would not be surprised if China tries to make some sort of a move on Taiwan. Because who's going to stop them, folks? Who's going to stop Red China from moving in on Taiwan and reunifying that part of the country? I mean, folks, they look for opportunities of this nature. Folks, this is a very scary time in history, and yet everybody wants to go out and check out the latest Hannah Montana movie or the Fast and the Furious and pretend we're race car drivers living on the edge and all this other malarkey. Now, let me go ahead and segue into this whole ethanol malarkey, this whole concept of everybody,
oh, it's time to go green now. Oh, global warming's coming, and if we don't sit here and protect ourselves, we're going to kill each other. We're going to kill everybody off.
Well, several years back, we decided to, somehow oblige this whole movement of being green and, this global warming malarkey. And the government made an initiative to invest in corn ethanol technology. I don't know if you folks are familiar with this, but, since, news came out that in Brazil, these people out there, the military junta who runs Brazil have made themselves energy independent by using sugar ethanol, because sugar basically grows wild out there. They got a whole abundance of it out there, so they have used the ethanol and sugar to basically make themselves self-sufficient energy-wise. And I don't know, I guess the green idiots decided to force the American government to initiate some sort of plan to, switch from gasoline to corn ethanol. No, it wasn't even corn ethanol. It was just supposed to be an alternative fuel source. And, of course, folks, we've got corn farmers out the wazoo in America. And, of course, I wouldn't be surprised if they had a pretty good influence in the legislation passed that initiated this whole concept of creating corn ethanol vehicles and, making an investment in corn ethanol. Well, folks, not only have we found that corn ethanol, really isn't any better, if not worse, for the environment than regular gasoline, but it's less reliable than that of sugar ethanol. And the only reason we can't put sugar ethanol in America is because we don't produce the greatest sugar in the world. So, lo and behold, we decided to make this initiation into corn ethanol. And now, what's happened? Well, folks, expect here within the next several months I'm sure it depends on what part of the country you're probably already feeling this markup, but you're going to see a markup of 10 to 15% in food prices, all right? I mean, are you already feeling the pinch? Are you already feeling? I'm sure you already have, depending on what part of the country out here. Why is food going up? Why are, flour and things of that nature going up? Because of this stupid global warming, this stupid green-ass clowns that are out here.
Oh, we need to change. We need to become energy efficient. We need an alternative to gasoline.
And lo and behold, corn ethanol, because we have just used and abused this ridiculous nonsense and attempted to, I don't know if you have seen these cars on the road, folks, but out here in Texas, you actually have trucks out here because they want to embrace this whole concept of going green. You know how these ass clowns are, all of a sudden, you think that, you're better than everybody else because you buy organic beef, organic sheets. I buy everything natural. I'm green. I've got an ethanol truck. I've got an ethanol car because I'm green. I love my planet. Not only is it not worse for the environment than regular gasoline, but lo and behold, we are now, not only is America has been paying a surcharge of 10 to 15% extra in the cost of food, but now the American taxpayer is going to have to take it up the tailpipe because of corn ethanol and the whole idea of using corn ethanol as an alternative to gasoline. Now the American taxpayer has to pay $900 million more this year to food stamps, people who collect food stamps. That's right, folks, because of the whole
going green and finding an alternative to gasoline. Oh, good.
Because of this whole nonsense of initiating corn ethanol as an alternative, lo and behold, we have not only a surcharge or an up price or an increase in value of the price of food, 10 to 15%. Now the American taxpayer has to flip $900 million more to food stamp collectees because corn ethanol, huh? Yeah, it's just ridiculous. It makes me sick to my stomach that we got to sit here and not only even acknowledge these green and global warming ass clowns, but we have the government bowing down to these people. You know, I mean, it was the government that initiated this whole idea and funded money, you know, into this concept of utilizing corn ethanol as an alternative to gasoline because it was supposed to burn cleaner or some malarkey, which it ended up not doing. So now what in the blue hell are we going to do? Now we're back to square one. You know, what it says here in this article, and by the way, folks, you can get to the article. It's written by Mary Claire Jelinek out of the Associated Press. It's called Report Ethanol Raises the Cost of Nutrition Programs out here. But, folks, I mean, you know, this ethanol idea is a pretty significant chunk of the automobile industry now because, you know, you got all these stupid, pretentious, new liberal wine-drinking, opera-going ass clowns out here trying to be Mr. Politically Correct. So they decided to, you know, go out and, you know, try to get a little car that's going to burn some ethanol. So they got to go to those ethanol-only gas stations, which are very scarce depending on your part of the country. Out here in Texas, we had a whole bunch of these idiot ethanol gasoline pump stations, or I don't even know what you call these things. They're not even gasoline. Ethanol pump stations is what I should say. And lo and behold, it's ridiculous. I mean, that's what it is. It's just unbelievable. I mean, the consumption of ethanol, you know, exceeded 9 billion gallons last year because these idiots decided to go out and become green. And,
oh, I'm so green.
I don't know. And do I have a solution to the problem of, you know, energy? No, I don't, folks. Okay, I really don't. I mean, you know, unfortunately, there's nothing or not a better alternative than the combustible engine, all right? Gasoline, the reason it's around, the reason that, you know, we continue to pay for it is because there's nothing cheaper. I mean, even to be a part of this whole corn ethanol experiment, you had to pay a surcharge of about 40 or 50 cents extra a gallon for this crap. And here you are, you thinking that you're actually doing the supposed environment a favor when you're not doing jack. So, you know, it really doesn't make any sense to me. You know, unless some innovator in America, and that's what we should be, you know, trying to initiate if we're going to be throwing money anywhere, is initiate innovators to try to an alternative, you know, to the combustible engine, a viable alternative, not these old stupid, you know, makeshift wheelchairs that they're trying to pass off as cars nowadays. That only go about 40 miles an hour. That you're, you know, that's supposed to be charged by the sun or water or whatever they've got now. I mean, those are not viable alternatives. We need viable alternatives that can go a minimum of 80 miles an hour, folks. All right, a viable alternative that isn't going to peter out on you after an hour. We need a viable alternative. You know, that's all there is to it. And we need to end ethanol altogether. If you happen to own an ethanol car, you should be hitting yourself over the head with an Acme brick, because now, even though you claim to be a green person, now that you're claiming to try to help the cause against global warming, now you're a contribution to the problem. All right? So now you're the idiot leaving more of a carbon footprint. It's ridiculous, folks. And I know there's some people in the chat room, and there's other people that have been critical of me because I don't believe this global warming malarkey. But, folks, if you believe it, you're an idiot. All right, bottom line, and I don't care if you think that I'm being cruel about it, if I'm not being understanding. Look, I'm not against recycling. I think that we should recycle. I think less trash and less landfills is probably better for every human being and every generation thereafter. But that's about it, all right? I mean, that's it. I mean, we can recycle our plastic and everything that can be recyclable. But as far as trying to embrace this concept of global warming and how human beings are the problem, see, that's the whole objective of this whole green movement. They want to make you believe that you are the problem, that you are the disease on this so-called earth that is somehow damaging the planet. It's not anything to do with humanity, folks. They want you to believe that the Arctic polar caps are receding, and icebergs are melting, and the polar bears are going to die, and all this other malarkey. And it's your fault. That's what they want you to believe. It is your fault that nature is dying. Oh. Well, folks, I beg to differ, and I strongly advise you to do your own research on this, because I have. But, folks, the reason that we're seeing an abnormal amount of warm temperatures, we're seeing not only just warm temperatures, but, other abnormal weather patterns in parts of the world that usually don't see particular weather patterns. But, folks, what's unfortunate is that, okay, we'll take for face value that it's our fault, that it's the people in the world that are the cause of global warming. Well, let me tell you something. We must be causing not only global warming, we should be, it's obvious that we're causing intergalactic warming, that all of the farts that we, eject out of our anuses, all the belches and, all the CO2 we put in the air and all the garbage that is supposedly our fault, it's apparently leaving out of the holes of our ozone layer and going into the next planet that's down the damn intergalactic street from us, and all of a sudden we're affecting Mars's polar ice caps. Oh, man. I mean, and they're going to tell me that's our fault, too? Mars's polar ice caps are receding at an even faster rate than those right here on Earth. Okay, folks, so to sit here and try to say that the people of the world are the cause of the polar ice caps melting is just a grotesque lie. It's a grotesque lie, and you know it. And for all you folks that don't believe me, I strongly advise you to go out there and read up about Mars polar ice caps and how these ice caps are receding at an even faster rate than those on Earth. Folks, the bottom line is that the sun is getting hotter. I mean, it's getting warmer. I mean, there's some abnormal activity that's going on with the sun. The other day I went down to the university, which is UT, unfortunately, because I like UT as a university. There's some good people that have came out of there, but, I hate going to Austin, Texas, because a lot of liberals out there, a lot of open, you know what I'm talking about, a lot of fruit bowl stuff, a lot of, same-sex open, it's just disgusting. But I looked at the sun through a telescope, and you can actually look, you have to have a special filter, of course. You can't look directly into the sun with a telescope. You burn your damn eyeball off. But if you put a certain filter over the damn telescope, you can actually look at the sun. And the professor out there, which is a good friend of mine, I don't want to name any names, was telling me that we are not seeing any sunspot activity whatsoever. We're not seeing any type of sunspot activity on the sun, and it's almost an unprecedented situation since monitoring the sun. And he went on and on about, how that could cause, some sort of solar, I don't know, something negative that's going to, affect our climate, so to speak. So I'm just telling you, folks, do not believe this ridiculous malarkey about global warming. Don't believe it. The agenda for these liberals and these feminists and all the leftists, and this is an international consortium attempting to try to facilitate this ridiculous lie on you. All right? The reason they want to make you believe that global warming is somehow real, the whole agenda around this is to basically tax you for breathing, folks. And if you don't believe me, go ahead and take a look at the Kyoto Treaty, all right? The Kyoto Treaty, lays it out plain and simple. And thank God George Bush rejected the Kyoto Treaty, because right about now we'd probably all be paying a tax just for existing, just for living, for heaven's sake. I mean, just imagine you getting taxed for breathing, and how it goes is they're going to take your body weight and your height and all this malarkey and figure out your quote-unquote carbon footprint. So what the hell does that mean? Well, they're going to, basically some bureaucrat somewhere is going to, figure out, based on your body weight and your height, how much you breathe, how much you take a fart, how many times a day you go to the bathroom, based on all this malarkey, and they are going to tax you for that. And if you think I'm a bunch of crap, folks, you do the research yourself. That's what I always tell people. If you think I'm crap, if you think I'm lying, if you think I'm just, somehow just pulling this out of my derriere, I challenge you to go out and look for it for yourself, because this is the type of thing that people need to be talking about out here. We do not need any of this malarkey to have any type of substance any longer. So before I get off keister here, folks, once again, do not be for this corn ethanol crap. And if you happen to be an owner of a corn ethanol car, well, go throw it in a river or something. Go trade it in for some kind of a decent car, for heaven's sake. All right? You know what? Better yet, I guess since we can send money now to Cuba, now that we can send money, we can travel to Cuba, maybe you can put it on the Cuban Craigslist and, sell the damn ethanol car overseas now, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I think it's a disgrace. This is the new America that we're living in, folks. We're embracing communism. We're giving substance to the communist Cuban Revolution. We're giving substance to the idea that, we have to tax people for breathing. We've got international turbulence all over the globe out here, and yet what are we worried about? Oh, we're worried about whether Lindsay Lohan is diving on a new muff this evening. That's what we are, huh? That's what we're doing. Oh, we're worried about Paris Hilton and seeing if she has, a monkey on her crotch. Oh, that's what we're worried about. We're not worried about America anymore, folks. This is why I think it's very unfortunate that, we're living in today's America, and we can look at ourselves in the mirror and bequeath this kind of future to our children. I think it's a disgrace, and that's why I am so critical of the American people, folks. That's why I say that the American public sucks. And I'm going to continue to say it, folks, because the American people allow this to happen. They allow the embracing of American quasi-socialism and communism. They are embracing the idea of loosening the restrictions of the Cuban embargo. They're embracing the idea of allowing the government to spend 40% of the United States GDP. They're embracing this garbage. And lo and behold, what is America to do? Well, we just got to sit here and take it up the tailpipe, huh? We just got to sit here and take it, huh? I mean, we got the new fairness doctrine coming into power here. They're trying to initiate that into, certain bills into committee. It's a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace. Anyway, I want to hear from you. 646-652-4869. We're in the second hour of True Conservative Radio. I am your host, the man they call Ghost, and, we talked about a variety of different subject matters this past hour. We talked about how Obama is giving credence to the Cuban Revolution by allowing the so-called loosening of the Cuban embargo. And we're basically allowing Castro to die with dignity, for heaven's sake. All right? We talked a little bit about the situation in Thailand. The Red Shirt Rebellion is what I guess I'd like to call it, because there are all the protesters that are surrounding the Prime Minister of Thailand's office there. They've all got red shirts, and it's a turbulent situation. It's definitely unstable, but it's not the only unstable situation in the international community, folks. We've talked about a lot of them. It's a scary time to be alive in international, in the world today, I should say, because everything is uncertain. I mean, we got North Korea out here trying to test ballistic missiles. We got Mexico on the verge of failed state and being taken over by narcos. We got, Castro is probably going to, die a Cuban communist martyr, and is going to give fervor to all the communist uprising in South America. We've got Islamic law, or Sharia law, trying to be implemented out there in Pakistan. We've got a situation out there in Thailand. We've got China trying to flex their muscles, folks. It is just unbearable out here. I don't know what to say. And yet, you look on the mainstream media, you look on the boob tube in an attempt to try to enlighten yourself on the latest news, and what are they talking about? They're talking about,
oh, Brad Pitt, oh, yes, he's so hot. And, oh, Madonna's trying to adopt another baby from Africa.
This is it, all right? I mean, this is it. I mean, this is the new America that we're living in, folks. And are you happy with it, folks? I mean, honestly, can you look at yourself in the mirror? And I'm not talking to you immigrant assholes that are out here in this country illegally. I'm talking to the American people that actually either served in this country, have ancestry in this country, or actually am a legal citizen of this country and love this country. I mean, can you look at yourself in the mirror and actually believe that this is going on around you? That this is the new America? That we've got a liberal regime in power that not only is allowing an open raid on the American taxpaying system, not only are they trying to implement these authoritarian liberal and feminist agendas, not only are they attempting to socially engineer the American family in creating single-parent families the majority of the day, but, folks, they are giving credence to the idea that we can sit here and negotiate with arch enemies of America. I'm telling you this right now, by sitting here and embracing this Cuba, this idea of allowing American people to freely travel in and out of Cuba, to allow people to send money in and out of Cuba. If you want to send money, I'm assuming, I guess, I don't know. In my view, I guess you can go and send some money to the communist government out there. I guess that's okay. Hell, can we smoke a freaking Cuban cigar now? Folks, the reason I am so critical of this liberal regime that is in power is because, folks, let's get down to brass tacks. This is a very turbulent time to be an American. The integrity of the Constitution is at risk. The integrity of our financial security is at risk. The idea of the American dream is at risk, and yet the American people are on their knees begging for this quasi-communism, quasi-socialism, this quasi-pussificated crap. And I'm supposed to sit back and just not say a damn thing about it? Give me a break, folks. How can we give legitimacy to the Cuban Revolution is what I'm asking. How can we give credence to Fidel Castro and Che Guevara? Don't you morons understand? It's this communist model. It's this idea of communist revolution that gives fervor to the revolutionaries or potential revolutionaries out there in South America trying to cause communist uprising. And we as the American people are going to allow our government to negotiate with these damn communists, the same communists who caused the damn missile crisis that almost annihilated a half of the damn earth out here? Are we actually negotiating with this crap? I'm sorry if I'm getting a little loud here, folks, but this is not the America that I came to know and love out here. This is not the America that I believe that, was written in the Constitution for us all. I don't know what this has become, folks, and to be frankly honest, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed, folks, because I have basically lived the conservative lifestyle my entire life. I've raised children. I've got grandchildren. And to sit here and watch the transition of what I knew of as an America, what I knew of as a free country out here, and we are witnessing our people, and when I mean our people, I'm talking about American people, on their knees begging for this crap. They're begging for their own socialism. They're begging for their own communism. And it's a disgrace. It's a disgrace to everybody who spilt blood for this country. It's a disgrace to anybody who believed in this country. It's a disgrace to our forefathers, and it's a disgrace to the Constitution. 646-652-4869. We got the 810 area code. You're on the air.
Hi, my name's Wendy. I'm in the chat room.
How you doing, Wendy?
Oh, I'm jaded.
I can completely understand.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment that I believe that since the media doesn't really focus on other issues besides outside of America, that I think you don't have the savvy people that you do on your show that knows what's really going on, and they're more concerned about what's going on in their own houses. And I live in Michigan, and we have the highest unemployment rate because of course, like General Motors and all the manufacturing that got sent out of the country because of NAFTA.
Certainly.
And, we got like 1 in 7 people that are unemployed, 1 in 6 people, their houses are in foreclosure. Obama fires, Wagner from GM, and everyone's scared to buy a car, do anything, which manufacturing has been the bread and butter of the state. So, for people to sit there and worry about Cuba when they can't even make their house payment, and I can't even tell you how many people I know personally, they have their house like in a short sale right now to the bank, just giving it back and moving out of state. It's like people from the state are leaving in ridiculous numbers. There's no jobs, no nothing. And I believe that you see that more in when things happen bad in more of a manufacturing type area than you do in other parts of the country, and I believe it will catch up too. And that's just my take.
Well,
I wanted to say.
Oh, well, I was just going to respond to that. I think it really is unfortunate that, this whole idea of recession has extended beyond those that were trying to skate the system. I want to, emphasize that those people that are in trouble at this point are no longer unskilled laborers or those that, didn't find a trade. This is extending into white-collar jobs. This is all-around economic disaster. And I think that it's unfortunate that we have a president that's more worried about whining and dining himself in Europe and going out here bowing down to the Islamic world in Turkey, a week or so ago, and now giving the American people the great news that we are now going to open up relations with Cuba. And I think all along what he should have been doing is organizing the private sector into initiating some, hardcore investment in America. But instead, he's used his political power to dictate what private enterprise is going to do.
I 100% agree. I actually ran for precinct delegate in my area. I was a big Ron Paul supporter because I consider myself a Jeffersonian libertarian, and I just really think that the Constitution isn't being upheld with all the wars that are going on, and I feel like all the people that he put in his cabinet were basically the same thing as George W., or worse, just to mix it up a little bit, and I'm just really disappointed. I just don't really know what's going to happen with the state. I'm self-employed. We have a plumbing business. Well, with the housing market going down, no one's building anything, doing anything. We have all these lawyers to try to get our money that want more money, than what you would get out of it. You can't foreclose on any of the liens that you put on because the house is already for sale and they're not selling. And you would think that you'd be fine with a construction trade and being in skilled trades because you can't ship that, overseas. And you're still not,
what's
it's
unfortunate,
just ridiculous.
Well, what's unfortunate is that money isn't exchanging hands, and the reason money isn't exchanging hands is, unfortunately, a lot of people got in over their heads, as far as their own materialistic gain is concerned, and a lot of people were working to make that minimum monthly payment to suffice their sustenance.
And I understand that, and you know what? I don't really blame it on George W. at all. That's back to the Clinton administration, in my opinion.
Certainly. I mean, that's what I keep telling these liberals out here that continue to, pass the blame off on Bush. I mean,
no, absolutely not.
It was the deregulation the deregulation of the banking industry that was signed into law during his administration.
I know Ross Perot wasn't very popular at the time, but when he had his little charts out and all his stuff, he said everybody in America was going to end up having a job making $7 to $10 an hour. And looking back, I think, you know what, he was right with all his charts, and that's exactly what it is. And I don't even know if it's what Obama's trying to do is socialism, as I do more as fascism. He's ruining everything. Every single time he goes on TV, the stock market drops, and I'm just really, really frustrated. I can't believe that. I'm telling you, in this state here is it's really bad, and I think it's as bad as it was during the Depression. But people have credit cards and things like that to live off of longer, which they probably didn't have back in the day,
Oh, yeah,
and
of course.
It's worse,
It is worse, and I think the reason it's worse is because, at least back in those days, you could still own something and still have possessions of some things. Unfortunately, now everybody has put everything on credit, and everybody wanted to live off the high hog. And of course, we had a liberal and feminist propaganda machine on the television. Letting us know that it was okay to do so. It was okay to be decadent, materialistic, and perverted, and that sort of thing. And lo and behold, we're in a situation where you have most of the American people having to embrace this idea of a personality being the savior of all in America, when in actuality, this man, I just don't understand how he can be any more blatant by allowing his, liberal regime that's in power in the Congress and the Senate open season on anybody who wants dibs on the American tax-paying dollars. When I think, the very minimum what he could have done was allow people that were going to pay taxes this year because they made so much money, just give people back their money. Why don't you just give everybody in America back their money?
I totally 100% agree. Like I said before, me and my husband have a plumbing business. When I went into this business back in 2003, I had awesome credit scores, and I had maybe like $4,000 of credit card debt, which is not a good thing, but not bad. Well, no one wants to lend you anything until you show 3 years into business, so we financed a lot of things, and they gave us all these credit cards for gas, and we experienced, I guess, growing pains because we went from 0 employees to 12 employees in a short amount of time, not knowing that the housing market was going to crash and everything else. And I tell you one thing, we both worked our asses off, about 80 hours a week between him and I, and my credit scores are shot. I'm in more debt than I ever have been, and it's just ridiculous. And everything that the way the state is set up makes it so difficult. And to see all these other people get all these, like the bailouts. Honest to God, I'm from Michigan. They shouldn't have bailed out or tried to bail out any of the auto companies. They should have went bankrupt and restructured over a year ago.
Certainly, and
because,
they didn't give them any
You're
money.
not going to have the confidence to. Who wants to buy a car if they're, the manufacturer's going to be going out of business in a month? And our auto industry here is a really big thing, and there's just not the money, and there's just the taxes are ridiculous, and the gas prices were how much, and it's like.
Well, there was a whole.
Even on alcohol and tobacco, our governor raised. It's like, well, that's just another tax on the poor people. Well, I can't collect unemployment because we're self-employed, even though I paid on behalf of employees for how long, even though we had to lay them off. And it's like they don't support small businesses, which could actually nurture and grow and create jobs. And they don't do that. They make it so difficult, where everyone's just closing their doors down. I mean, I don't know where you're at, but we have a lot of newer strip malls and stuff, and there are signs everywhere for lease. It's just no one can stay in business no matter what they're doing, except your big corporate, like your Walmarts and, your bigger companies like that. But all your mom and pop shops or anyone who wants to open up a florist company or whatever, they're done. They can't do it.
No, and then
I wish they would nurture small businesses so you could grow and create jobs,
Hey, we've been an advocate of that for the longest time here on this program. I'm a small business owner myself. I belong to my Chamber of Commerce in my local area out here in Texas, and we've seen a lot of people that were in business 40, 50, 60, 70 years, and because they didn't want to expand, basically were they're basically happy with their own small little mom-and-pop shop, so to speak. They were undercut by the, of course, corporates who price their goods below wholesale price to basically take them out of business. And lo and behold...
Oh, yeah, you can't open up a little bookstore and then you have Barnes & Noble open up down the road from you. And the other thing that gets me really mad is because I live in rural Michigan. I live in like a one-horse town. I'm not even kidding. And, I have a lot of farmers out here and that. And if you would think of anything that happens, which I thought John Cougar Mellencamp actually is trying to come up with some bill or do something to help farmers, but out of all the stimulus money, they didn't do anything to help growing our own food in our own country. And I mean, I was at Kroger the other day and I bought 4 tomatoes and it was $6. And then I was looking at their meat and majority of it said Mexico and U.S.
Oh,
well, yes, U.S. beef, but it's processed in Mexico because it's cheaper. And my dad, he's a winter Texan. He lives down there in Brownsville. And he said the cartels and everything's like horrible over there. I told him, hey, get me some steerheads so I can make some money at a craft show so I can paint them up all pretty and stuff and sell them up north here. He's like, no, man, they were saying don't even go over the border. People are getting killed like every day. You don't see any of that on the TV up here.
No,
because
certainly
it's
not.
all propaganda and bullshit, and they tell you what you want to hear, and we're like one step away from what my grandfather told me when I was little with the credit and debit system and the whole New World Order, and I'm just really frustrated. And like I said, I ran for precinct delegate in the Republican Party. I lost by 1 vote, but I tried really hard because I'm just really disappointed in the way this country is going, and I knew it would be a huge downfall if Obama got in.
You should do more than run for precinct chair. You should run for office. You should go out there and try to change your community because we need folks like yourselves that aren't, injected with the greed factor like most of these bureaucrats that are in office today trying to represent us as American people. And, people like yourself and other folks can actually make an initiative to go out there and actually help, not the people that are out here collecting the entitlement checks that are trivializing the concept of life by baby making for more entitlement money, helping the real American people.
Which again, I would like to add a comment to. It was like, Obama stimulus package, you'll see a bump up in your paycheck this week or whatever, which was a week or two ago. Well, I'm a small business owner. Again, we don't collect a paycheck. We just take draws off the business. So I don't get that money. I'm still paying on my 2006 taxes on a payment plan. And it's like they make it so difficult for you to strive and create jobs and do things because you're taxed to death. And, it's just so frustrating. And I can tell, this is the first time I've ever been to your show, and I can tell you're very passionate about these topics. And,
absolutely. And
almost to the point of a stroke, but...
No, and we've been discussing this for 2 years straight, about the small business and an emphasis of investment on small business. We've talked a lot about how, it's really not that hard to turn around this economy, but no one is going to take the initiatives necessary to do so. I think it's a grotesque, spit in the face on not only the American soldiers that have spilt blood for this country, but for our future children, for us to just decide to just print up billions upon billions upon billions of dollars and giving them to whatever crony that was I don't know if it was lucky enough or slick enough or shyster enough to get close to a politician to, be putting the bill for a bailout. And this is all on the American taxpayer dime. And what's unfortunate is that I can feel your pain. I'm a small business owner myself, but what's unfortunate is that we need voices like yourself and other voices of rational thinking and of American thinking to go out and try to convince these zombies, these imbeciles that are out here anesthetized with this political romantic idea that liberalism and feminism is going to save us all. I think it's, a horrific
and I agree 100%. I would say that because of the overload and being just so overloaded with message units in people's brains that people are just walking around like zombies being hypnotized with propaganda. If I sat here and told, like my in-laws, half of the things I believe in, as far as even, I'm prone to conspiracy theories and all this kind of stuff too, but they would think I was crazy if I said, they don't tell you all this stuff on the news. Half that stuff isn't true. And no, there are people, they'd be like, no, it's our government. They would never do that to us. Like, they don't realize that. And I believe a lot of people out there are this way. And I think it's so important that people hear shows like that you have going on, because I just feel that majority of people either don't want to get involved, they don't believe it, they just go about their daily routine, and if it's not affecting them, they don't care about Cuba. They could give a crap less. All they care about is what Paris Hilton wore last week and how much hair extensions are, and they'll go charge it on their credit card. It's ridiculous. And even the education in this country, we don't know who any of those world leaders are. Or you tell somebody where find Mongolia on the map, no one even knows where it is.
Well, that's the new America that we're living in. We're living in America that, we're just going to embrace the supposed special educated. That's a new word. Oh, I guess the caller got disconnected. You can go ahead and call back in if you want. And anybody else also, 646-652-4869. But the reason that we have embraced this idea of liberalism and feminism is because our whole education system has been hijacked by the liberals and the feminists, and they've been doing this for the past 30-plus years. And folks, it is not a coincidence that if you talk to the majority of males under the age of 30 nowadays, they looked like, literally, like they popped out of the anal passage of Boy George out of the Culture Club in 1984. All right, folks, this is not a joke out here. Go out there and talk to these kids. Talk to some high school male out here and notice the feminine physical attributes and the feminine vernacular. Notice the lack of personality and the uniformity of all these males and all these children out here. I think it's a disgrace to America, a country that was an innovator of entertainment, of music, of creativity, of innovation, of business. We created this whole financial game, damn it. There shouldn't be any reason why we should be suffering from this crap. We shouldn't be, but we have incompetence. We've got incompetence in government. But, folks, the reason that we have incompetence in government is because we have an incompetence in populace. What the hell does that mean? That means the American public is to blame for all the turbulence, for all the bad decisions, for all the malarkey that you're witnessing right before your very eyes right now. And this is not a joke, folks. This is why I talk passionately. This is why you can hear the passion in my voice. I mean what I say what I mean. And, folks, I want you to take it upon yourself to go out there and tell people about America. It doesn't matter what you think you are politically. The bottom line is, folks, if you embrace the constitutional republic that used to be this country, well, by God, you and I are on the same team. If you embrace an America where you were born into nothing, and with persistence, patience, and perseverance, you can make yourself something out of nothing. But you can't do that anymore. I mean, you heard the last caller, that poor lady. She was sitting here saying that she's paying taxes from 2006. A small business owner, folks. You want to know why she's paying all these taxes? You want to know why she has to pay payment plans for taxes from 2006? Because this poor lady and other small businesses and other individuals who have been successful, other people who have been non-entitlement collectors, I'm talking about good American people. These are the people that are taking out the tailpipe and paying for these entitlement-receiving morons that are out here trying to shove down our hole that this new quasi-communist, socialist, fascist, whatever you want to call this crap, that this is somehow human progress, that this is somehow social evolution, that single-parent families, being the majority of the day, is somehow evolution to human enlightenment. I think it's a disgrace. I think it's disgusting. And I can't believe that America has transitioned itself into this ridiculous crap. I mean, what do you think? What the hell do you think about it? Are you just going to sit there and allow this to happen? Are you just going to sit there and allow this country to be flushed down the toilet? You need to do something. You're obligated, damn it. This country was made for the people and by the people. But if the people fall asleep at the wheel, then this is the crap you're going to get. You piece of crap. I better calm down, folks. I better calm down here. But the bottom line is if I sit here and drop dead right before you, right here, right now, I don't care. I hope it sparks some synapses in your brains out there, folks, because let me tell you, somebody needs to get angry. Somebody needs to get mad. Somebody needs to talk with passion out here and stop beating around the bush, stop splitting hairs with language. Somebody needs to be the real straight talker out here. And that's all there is to it, folks. That's why I care. That's why I continue to conduct these broadcasts, folks, even though I have liberals on a consistent basis trying to agitate this program, even though I have people attempting to try to disrupt my chat room and all that malarkey. I still sit here and persevere. I still sit here and broadcast because, folks, this is too important. This is too much of a critical time in American history. And for you to sit on your thumbs and not do anything about the transition of what America has turned itself into is completely irresponsible of you, and it's irresponsible of everybody around you that's neglecting the same problem at hand. Anyway, folks, let me calm down here. I want to hear from you, 646-652-4869. We got about 30 minutes left here in the program, folks. And I'm seeing a lot of people in here talking about big business, how big business is the bad guy and that sort of thing, folks. Let's talk about that for a second. Folks, remember, free enterprise and capitalism is what made America the powerful superpower that it was. And what I mean was is because we're no longer the sole superior superpower of the international community, folks. You can forget about it. But it was capitalism and the free market that made us who we were, folks. So we can't shun capitalism. We can't shun those who want to make a profit, folks. That's what creates the idea of opportunity. That's what creates the concept of opportunity, folks. That's what enables people to reinvest what they've earned and to somehow prosper by taking the appropriate risks and the appropriate measures, folks. This is the idea. So to sit here and try to discredit capitalism is not the way to go, folks. What we need to start doing is we need to start, as an American people, forcing the American government to give these multinational corporations. And I'm talking about these multinational corporations that gave America the finger a long time ago, that are out here worried about, quote-unquote, bigger markets. We need to tell these multinational corporations that you're either with us or you're against us. You're either going to sit here and make America the focal point of your business agenda, or you're not. Because, folks, to be honest with you, folks, all the multinational corporations that are in power today started right here in America. And for them to sit here and give America the finger and go out and send the means of production, the machines that create the products that we consume, to send the means of production outside of the United States of America is a slap in the mouth to every American who spilt blood for the prosperity of those companies, folks. But you see, a lot of this is our fault ourselves. We heard, the small business owner who called previous tell us that it's hard for her to continue to try to initiate business. It's hard to continue to try to prop themselves up, so to speak, because there is no business. They're dealing with a recession. They're dealing with the housing market crisis going down the wazoo. I wouldn't be surprised if they're dealing with undercutting because of illegal immigration. I mean, there are so many problems out here, but folks, it all comes down to the American consumer. And if the American consumer is going to sit here and piss and moan about how the jobs are leaving America and yet go to Walmart and go out there and spend about $400 on garbage, well then, folks, that isn't helping the problem, is it? That isn't helping the problem. And that seems like what every single American is doing at this point in time. And that's why I am so critical. That's why I'm critical of the American people, folks, and I will continue to be. Because the American public sucks. And what's unfortunate, folks, is that the American public is real quick to blame somebody else. Haven't you noticed that? Nobody wants to take personal responsibility for their own screw-ups. We're living in a day and age where everybody wants to pass the blame on to somebody else, like a typical damn liberal bureaucrat. Huh? Like some liberal or feminist bureaucrat out here trying to pass the ball.
Oh, it's not my fault. I got pregnant by 4 different fathers and got 4 different children. It's not my fault, so I deserve an entitlement. It's not my fault that I am a drug addict and I like a good round of smack up my veins. It's not my fault, so I deserve an entitlement. I deserve a 12-step program on the taxpayer's dime.
Welcome to America, folks. Welcome to America. And, you know, what's even more of a shame is that the American people are just sitting back and watching this happen. They're allowing this to happen, and nobody's saying diddly. Anyway, folks, 646-652-4869 is the number to call here. Let's go ahead and look at what's on the news, shall we? Now, the thing that I found here on the news is that I found, because, you know, I hate Facebook. This program, True Conservative Radio, called out Facebook and called out Mark Zuckerberg, who happens to be the founder and CEO of Facebook. We called those pieces of crap out because, you know, we highlighted the fact, well, not we didn't break the story, but we highlighted the fact that Facebook is, or at the time, they decided to change the terms of services of their little social networking site and basically allowed themselves to be the sole proprietor owner of your image, your profile, and any other content that you decided to put up on there. Even if you decide to cancel your profile, even if you decide to disassociate yourself from Facebook. Well, anyway, to get to the point, Facebook users, according to some ridiculous, stupid survey, Facebook users in college seem to get lower overall grades than non-users. Oh, really? I mean, did it take a freaking study to figure that out, that, you know, idiot college kids that are, you know, more worried about, you know, finger-banging Miss Annie Mae Rottencrotch over Facebook, you know, is not worried about his grades in college? Gee, I wonder how much of our tax dollars it took to fund that ridiculous study. Give me a break. And once again, folks, if you happen to be a user of Facebook, you're a stupid idiot, all right? With all due respect, Facebook is a bunch of crap. I mean, you know, I know that Zuckerberg, you know, kind of took a couple of steps back on his terms of service, you know, malarkey that he tried to pull. But, folks, you know, Facebook, to pull off the type of malarkey it did, they should be ashamed of themselves. And Mark Zuckerberg, you should go suck an egg, you stupid ass clown. Here you got a company worth over $1 billion, and you want more money, you want more rights over people's images and, you know, over their profiles, over the content they post, you stupid idiot, you imbecile. I'm sorry, I don't like Mark Zuckerberg. I think he's an asshole. Sorry. I mean, you know, if you're taking offense to this, well, tough titty. All right? This idiot's you know, a billionaire on paper, for heaven's sake, and this guy's got the audacity to sit here and try to change the terms of service? Are you kidding me? I mean, you know, if I was one of the first Facebook users out there, I'd try to go look this idiot up at his, you know, whatever mansion he's living in, and I'd put a boot in his ass. I'd put a boot so far up his stupid Facebook-using shit funnel, he'll be crapping out leather for the next 10 years of his life. Anyway, I'm not trying to threaten Mark Zuckerberg. I'm just saying he's a piece of trash, and he should be ashamed of himself. All right? You should be ashamed of yourself, you idiot. Anyway, 646-652-4869, 810, you're on the air again.
Hi, this is Wendy. I'm calling back.
How's it going?
Okay, I'm the small business owner. Did I happen to mention I have not had medical insurance for 2 years?
Oh, no.
Yeah, 2 kids under the age of 10. So when you said, oh, yeah, I got 4 different baby daddy or whatever, I'm like, yeah, why is it that married people get penalized in this country? I'm not eligible for anything.
It's the liberal and feminist agenda. I've talked about that for a long time.
I mean, I would be better off if I actually got divorced and still lived with my husband, if I was really, I mean, if I was one of those people that would accept. I mean, I've been begging and borrowing off my family to get me out of this dry spell that we're in because of frost laws. You know, now work's picking up, that the weather is breaking and footing's been put down and all that, but yeah, I just can't even believe it.
Well, what's even more unfortunate is I've had callers call up to this program and tell me that they actually have social workers telling them to divorce. I mean, you know, these are married couples that would never collect an entitlement in their lives, but they're in a precarious economic situation, given the depression or recession, whatever you want to call this malarkey. And they go out, they try to get a help. They try to get a helping hand out here, and you got a dumb bureaucratic social worker trying to initiate or trying to suggest that if this female or this wife, this loyal spouse, decides or, you know, happens to get divorced from their husband, well, you know, her entitlement receivings would go from $200 a month to $2,000 a month.
Yeah, and, you know, I had my mom, she had a long-term illness that was pretty much like a Lou Gehrig's disease, and my dad went to go see a lawyer because he was only 50 at the time, and my mom was in her 40s when she got sick, and me and my sister were in our 20s, and he said, yeah, charge up everything you can, as far as put everything you can on the house and this and that, so they don't take the house in case she needs to go into a nursing home, and or else they're going to take your house.
Unbelievable.
And, yeah, so it's like, but if you, and he said, you know, you can't divorce her because you've been, like, married too long. They're still going to, like, go after you or whatever. But she had both, you know, disability from Social Security, you know, so she had Medicare and Blue Cross, and there was still over $30,000 worth of bills that were billed wrong that I fought for a year and a half to get paid. So, you know, like, I've been through a lot of things in my life, and I just always seems like the person who does the right thing never comes out ahead, you know. And,
that's
you
what
work
we talk
hard,
about
you
all
do
the
what
time.
you're supposed to do, you know. I mean, I did everything the proper way, you know. I was married for 5 years before I had children, and, you know, took care of my mother at home, and, you know, didn't take any assistance ever for anything, and, I mean, I've been screwed over by insurance companies with their work comp laws and, you know, taxes and just bullshit all the time. It's like the harder you try, the more, you know, like, fuck do you get, you know, for lack of a better word. But,
that's what we talk about all the time. We
That's
talk about that
crazy.
all the time on this program, that the American person that works hard, that's never collected an entitlement, that takes care of their family, that pays their taxes, these are the people that are taking it up the tailpipe and are basically supporting all the entitlement receivers that are out here using and abusing the system. And the reason that they're allowed to do this is because the liberals and feminists that have hijacked the bureaucratic systems of our country have enabled this to be possible. They are indirectly socially engineering America into having single-parent families as the majority of the day, because they have made single-parent families and baby-making into big business because of the entitlements, because of all the government programs that one can get into if they happen to be a single mother.
And I agree 100%. I mean, I've done the book work for 6 years and ran a business, and I stayed home with my kids while I was doing this, and I am not entitled to a child care credit on my tax return because I work at home and I don't draw a paycheck. I did for a couple of years just so I could get my credits in for Social Security, and on weeks that we really couldn't afford for me to draw a paycheck, I would still pay into Medicare, and I would put my paycheck right back into the business just so I would have my credits in case something had happened to me that, you know, or, you know, for the future that I would have those in. And like I said, it's total bullshit that they, you know, as hard as you work and stuff, it's like, okay, if someone goes and leaves their kid and drives a Corvette and they don't need the money and they do this and this and that, they get it because they're dropped off in daycare, but I don't because I take care of my own kids.
It's unfortunate.
Why am I not entitled to a child care credit?
Because this is an
Because I stay at home with my kids, I'm penalized for not throwing them in daycare.
Well, because they're trying to force you through the bureaucratic system. They're trying to force you to become a single parent. And I'm telling you, everybody thinks I was nuts. And I've been doing this for 2 years. People thought I was nuts. People think I was an imbecile. But I'm telling you, now that the acceleration of all this liberal and feminist ideology is starting to come to pass because we have this liberal regime in office, people are starting to take notice that, hey, wait a minute, maybe this is an agenda. Maybe liberals are trying to socially engineer the family. I mean, maybe they are trying to suggest to us through liberal and feminist Hollywood that, you know, these, sexually perverted ideas are somehow normal and violence is somehow acceptable. It's just grotesque that we've allowed it to get this far, and at this point, I'd love to be an optimist. I wish that I could say that the American people are going to snap out of their spell and somehow, pull themselves out of this mess, but I don't think so. I think everybody is pretty much hook, line, and sinker and anesthetized with this idea of political romanticism, which is, being labeled as liberalism and feminism. These people think that they're going to have houses in the sky and money's going to grow on trees and, the government's going to provide us everything, when in actuality, all it's doing, all this liberal, idea is doing is making people believe that they're being helped, when in actuality, you're seeing these so-called, quote-unquote, CEO shysters and these banksters, basically reaping out even better than in any other administration previous to this one.
Did you ever see the movie Fun with Dick and Jane? And Jim Carrey's in it, and I think Tia Leone. I think that's how you pronounce it.
No, I've never seen that movie.
Well, you'd probably enjoy it a lot. He works for a company, and he puts all of his money into retirement, this and that. And anyways, the company ends up going belly up, and so all of his money in his 401k, of course, is gone. So everything he owns is like shit, So they're like strapped for cash. They're going to lose their house. They have no money, and they even think about stealing to try to get money and all these things. And it reminded me a lot of the whole Enron ordeal that happened, a few years back. But it's like you almost want to start thinking on a more shyster type thing, because people get desperate in desperate times.
Believe me, I know the feeling, and I can only just urge those folks that are being tempted to, because it seems real easy to go out there and, collect entitlements and go out there and, be a little shyster and, do whatever you have to do. But the problem is that, you're not in cahoots with the regime in power.
Oh,
so
yeah, absolutely.
If you're going to do anything shysterish and you're not in cahoots with the regime that's in power, you're going to be made
of the people who have all the wealth in the world.
I mean, that's what's unfortunate. Well, anyway, do you happen to have a show here on? Do you happen to have a show here on Blog Talk Radio, or you want to plug anything?
Who, me?
Yeah.
No, I just was calling. This is my first time on the show, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad I got to vent. And I think you're doing good work, and you should just keep spreading the message. And I'm going to add you to my favorites and promote your show, because I think it's really important that people wake up and stand up for themselves. And, I mean, at one point I believe there's going to be some type of revolution, because I can't see how things can get any better without a major restructuring of everything. And the more and more I see, it does not look good. In my opinion, I remember my grandfather warning me when I was little, about the credit and debit system, and there wouldn't be any money, and they're purposely devaluing the dollar. And I mean, like I said before, I live in Michigan, and people would go over to Canada all the time because our money was worth so much, more over there. And now we got the Canadians coming over here. And when I got change, our coins get mixed up a lot from, Canada. And so someone before they would never even accept Canadian coins. So I gave someone a Canadian coin. I'm like, hey, you actually owe me more money back than what it was. I mean, because for years and years and years, I mean, ours was always like, the trade rate was basically like our dollar. You'd have like $1.50 over there, and
yeah.
They're purposely trying to get, I believe, like a world money type thing going on, and I believe that they're purposely trying to devalue the dollar.
Well, I hope that's not the case. It certainly seems that there's definitely some irresponsibility with the economic money mechanics that's happening here
Absolutely.
in present-day America.
And you know, as before 1913, you didn't have all that inflation and all the things. So I just don't understand how the government can issue savings bonds but not issue their own money.
Well, you know, that's something that, you know, we've been debating for a long period of time out here, and unfortunately, you know, we're not going to get these problems solved because what's unfortunate is that the minor issues that leads to the big enchilada can't even be conquered at this point. And
that was my point with the whole Cuba issue when we said when people are so caught up in not being able to, you know, get medical care for their kids and food on the table and work and, you know, have a little bit in their savings and make their mortgage payments, they don't really care, you know?
Certainly.
They're just trying to get by. They're just putting out fires every day of their life and not looking at the bigger picture of anything. And that's, again, why I think your show's important. So, again, like I said, I will definitely add you and post bulletins or whatever on MySpace. I am anti-Facebook for the record. I think it's like high school and ridiculous, and really want nothing to do with that. But
well, that's good to hear because we're definitely anti-Facebook over here.
Oh, I'm anti-Facebook big time. It's just like high school. It's so, I don't know, juvenile, I guess.
Exactly. And we'd appreciate the plug out there if you can post this on the forums or chat rooms or anything of that nature.
Well, thanks for letting me vent, and I appreciate your show.
Thank you very much, and keep listening to us, and once again, add us to your friends, and if you happen to be listening to us too, also add us to your friends, folks. You know, it's been an interesting program here. I think that, once again, you know, we can continue to try to provide commentary and try to provide discourse, but inevitably it all comes down to the American people. It all comes down to whether or not the American people are actually going to get up and actually participate in this government, and what that means is be enlightened on all the legislation that's being passed, all the agendas that all these damn liberal and feminist, power-hungry autocrats have entail. We have to be aware of all this stuff, folks. You got to stop looking at the boob tube for all of your news and information. In this day and age of the Internet, there should be no reason whatsoever to sit here and, just utilize the boob tube as the sole information getter, so to speak. But, folks, we got about a little over 8 minutes left in the program. And I want to leave everybody with this final word. Now, folks, here at the True Conservative Radio program, we encouraged everybody to support the sponsors that are out there, on all the banners that you see on the blogtalkradio.com/ghost site. Please go out there and support the sponsors on the ghostpolitics.blogspot.com site. And by God, follow me on Twitter. But folks, I'm sorry to say that we are going to make a transition. Now, it's not going to happen for another month and a half, but we are making a transition, and the archives are going to be transferred to an iTunes little situation. We're in the process of doing that, and, they're going to be housed somewhere else. So please go out and take advantage of the archive. Go out there and listen to all the old episodes of True Conservative Radio, because we're going to slowly migrate the iTunes situation, we're going to slowly migrate the Blog Talk Radio archive into the iTunes little shindig, and we're going to see how that works. So please, folks, spread the link like wildfire, blogtalkradio.com/ghost. Go to the blogs, go to the forums, go to the chat rooms, and spread that link like wildfire out here. All right, we need to start talking about issues that affect us as American people out here. We need to stop talking about,
oh, the president got a new dog today. Oh.
We need to start talking about issues that affect you and me, damn it. All right? They need to affect you. They affect us, real American people, not these despicable illegal immigrants. They're trying to be humanized by the liberal and feminist agenda. Don't allow them to humanize them, folks. It's the illegal immigrant that's causing the devaluing of the American labor force out here. That's why we're getting paid less. Do you understand that? Folks, we need to start worrying about true American people, real American people, people that are from this country, that have loyalty to this country, and have loyalty to the Constitution. That's who I'm talking about. We've got too many mindless idiots out here walking around half-witted, half lobotomy. You go up to somebody, you could have swore they had a lobotomy about a couple of hours ago, folks. These people are that stupid. And, folks, the only way we're going to change this, the only way that we are going to prosper, the only way that we are going to see some bright lining in this darkness of liberalism and feminism is if we organize. We organize. We got to support each other, folks. If you're a true conservative, well, support me, and I will support you. We got to support each other, folks. If you're a true conservative, spread this link like wildfire. Email it to everybody you know. If you're a true conservative, I support you. Go out there and run for office, no matter what it is. Go out there and organize in your community, folks. It's that damn important, damn it. If you care about your children, if you care about your grandchildren, if you care about America, if you care about the Constitution, well, by God, go out there and participate in this government, because if you don't, folks, these power-hungry autocrats, they're going to sell us out, and they're going to sell us out completely, and we're not going to have nothing to do about it. We're going to have nothing to say about it. We're just going to have to sit there and take it, and I'm not going to take it. I will not go quietly in that good night, and I need your help, folks. I need your help. Support the True Conservative radio program. Spread the link like wildfire. Support the sponsors. Because, folks, we need to support each other out here. Do you understand that? We need to support each other. Because if we don't start supporting each other, folks, I don't know what the future of America holds. Anyway, folks, I want to thank everybody for tuning in with me, whether it's live or in the archive, folks. Once again, I want you to bookmark not only the official website, blogtalkradio.com/ghost, but please, folks, bookmark and add to your favorites the blog, because I'm going to be posting from now on a more frequent basis about subject matters. So please bookmark the blog. It's ghostpolitics.blogspot.com. All right, and if you want to, just go ahead and Google True Conservative Blog, and you should find it that way. And also, folks, please, like I said, support the sponsors. Anybody who, sponsors True Conservative Radio has the testicular fortitude to realize that America is in a vulnerable situation, and here is a voice. When they listen to True Conservative Radio, they hear a voice that is so much patriotic that these sponsors have to continue to support such a program as True Conservative Radio. So please, if you like the program, if you appreciate the commentary, please go and patronize the sponsors of the program, folks. It's as easy as that. It's just a click, damn it. Anyway, folks, let me tell you this. I don't know when I'm going to do another program. I don't think I'm going to do one tomorrow. I think the next program is going to be Wednesday night, midnight. Please keep up to date with all the broadcasts, because these are sporadic, folks. These aren't planned. We don't have a reoccurring show, so to speak. These are all sporadic programs We usually broadcast Monday through Friday between the hours of 11:30 p.m. to 1 a.m. Central United States time. And if you want the dibs on when exactly the next show is going to be, please follow me on Twitter. All right, folks, follow me on Twitter. Ghost Politics is the name. Twitter.com/GhostPolitics. That'll be the easiest and quickest way to figure out when I am doing a broadcast. Anyway, folks, I want to thank everybody for tuning in with me. Once again, please bookmark the blog, ghostpolitics.blogspot.com, and don't forget to patronize the sponsors there to support the show. Anyway, folks, I will see you on Wednesday evening, 12 midnight Central Time. And for all those liberal long hairs and all those feminist bull dykes that are trying to take me off the air and are trying to write Blog Talk Radio and that are trying to harass the sponsors, you can't do crap. I'm going to continue to provide conservative commentary. I'm going to continue to speak my mind, and I will not go quietly in that good night. There is nothing you can do about it, you despicable liberals. So continue to listen and continue to hate, because that's all you can do. Anyway, folks, long live the true conservative movement, and death to feminism.
Do you like turkey sandwiches? Then you'll love the new premium carb turkey and bacon sub at Subway restaurants. It's oven roasted just right, sliced thick just the way you like it. And just when you think it can't get any better, look out. It's got crispy bacon in there too. Order one today on your choice of freshly baked bread. Then select any veggies you want to make your premium carb turkey and bacon sub uniquely yours. It's a great sub for people who really like turkey. Subway, fresh is what we do.